Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be discussing about Java interview questions and I will also share my experience with it. So the first and most often question interviewer can ask is about the difference between JDK, JRE and JVM. So it is just to make sure you are comfortable as most of the Java developers know the differences. Just to recap, JDK is a software package that includes necessary tools to develop and compile Java application. It is a runtime environment that allows you to run Java application on your machine. This is called JVM, and it is an abstract machine that provides runtime environment for Java applications. The other main important question that an interviewer can ask is like, what are main features that were introduced in Java 8? So you have to name down lambda expression, string API, default and static method, functional interface, and date time APIs. So these questions are like related to level 1 interview, which will be like only some definitions you need to answer them, but not in details. The question number 3, which comes from the data structure part, is most often they want to ask you about the difference between any two data structures. For example, an array list and a linked list. You can see the array list and a linked list both are implementation of list interface. The only thing is array list allow fast random access but slower insertion and deletion, whereas linked list allow fast insertion and deletion but slower random access. As a rule of thumb, data structures that allow fast random access will have slow insertion and deletion. The next question the interviewer might ask is about the differences between two functions or two methods in Java. For example, in here you can ask about equals, which is a common method used to compare the component of object for equality. Okay, it will check for the content, not for the, you can say, the address or anything else, but the content of the object. The hash code, on the other hand, method return an integer hash code value for the object used in hash based collections. Question number 5, and this is from the advanced Java, and what they will ask mostly is like, what is multi-threading and how it is achieved. They can also ask you about the life cycle of the multi-threading. Multi-threading is concurrent execution of more than one sequential set of instructions. In Java, multi-threading can be achieved by two main methods. One is by extending the thread class or by implementing the runnable interface. So you should know about multi-threading and the life cycle as well. Next question the interviewer might want to ask is like, how you handle the exceptions in Java and what are their types. So Java uses try catch block to handle exceptions. You know, as the code could not be a perfect block, there could be some errors, so you need to handle those exceptions. There are two types of exceptions. One are checked exception that must be caused or declared in method signature, and the other one are unchecked exception which do not require explicit handling. Now the interviewer might ask you about the concept of OOP, which is very common to ask in an interview question for Java. So OOP is a programming language, okay, and it is based on the concept of objects. And the main important pillars of OOPs, you can say, is encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and abstraction. You should know in detail which I will cover in next videos about this concept. Java support OOP principle through classes and objects. Okay. Next thing is like what are Java annotation, and you might get confused, but a common use annotation is add, which denotes the annotation, and override. Okay, so annotation are metadata that provide additional information to the compiler or runtime. And the ninth question, what is the purpose of finally block in Java? It is again to the exceptional handling. So remember, finally block contain the code that is always executed regardless of whether an exception is thrown or kept. It is commonly used for resource cleanup tasks. But also remember, this is a runtime. When there is an runtime exception, then only a finally block will occur. But if there is any syntax error, you won't be able to compile. So in that case, finally block will not execute. How does Java support multiple threading, multiple interface of inheritance of interfaces? So this is again coming from the, you can say like interfaces. So you should know this one as well. In Java, a class can implement multiple interfaces, allowing it to inherit abstract behavior from multiple sources. This is achieved by separating the class inheritance from interface implementation. Okay. So to sum up, whenever you are giving a Java interview, you should go through the fundamentals of Java. The interviewer can also ask you to share your screen and write a piece of code. So you should practice some code as well, which we will cover in next video. But you should know like how basic strings work, what is the principle of string, how the data is saved in the string, in memory allocation like heap and stack. Okay. So these things you should cover before an interview. And best of luck. Anything you want to ask, you can comment in the